In the second half of the 13th century, the Mongol Empire waged a long and exhausting war against the Southern Song dynasty. Despite numerous attacks, the Mongol troops could not overcome the resistance of the Chinese state. The reasons for this were multifaceted, not only because of the military power of the Song army, but also because of political complications within the Mongol Empire itself. After the death of the great Khan Monka in 1259, a power struggle began between his brothers, which undermined the unity of the empire. The winner was Kublai, who in 1260 proclaimed himself Great Khan. However, his authority was not recognized by all parts of the former empire. In particular, the Ulises of the Chagatai and the Golden Horde acted autonomously. Kublai's real power was limited. He controlled northern China, the Mongolian steppes, and Goryeo. This fragmentation weakened the unity of the Mongol Empire and made it difficult to conquer the Southern Song dynasty, which retained control over significant territories of China. The war dragged on, requiring large resources and forces. Looking for ways to accelerate victory, Kublai turned his attention to Japan, an island state, an important trading partner of the Southern Song. Mutually beneficial trade between Japan and the Song was of strategic importance. The conquest of the Japanese islands would undermine the economic potential of the Southern Song and strengthen the position of the Yuan Empire. In addition, the possession of Japan made it possible to control important sea routes and receive additional income. Thus, Japan became a new goal of the Great Khan. Kublai understood that the conquest of this island state could significantly accelerate the defeat of the Southern Song and strengthen the positions of the Mongols in the region. In 1266, the Great Khan Kublai first sent ambassadors to Japan with a demand to submit to his authority. At that time, power in Japan was divided between the nominal ruler, the emperor, who was in Kyoto, and the actual ruler, the Shikken Hojo Tokimun, who ruled the country from Kamakura. Both sides were interested in avoiding open conflict, but at the same time did not want to give up their independence. Therefore, the Japanese left the Mongols without an answer. Over the next 6 years, Kublai did not stop trying to establish contact with Japan. He sent ambassadors again and again with demands for submission, but they all returned without result. The Japanese took the threat seriously. They began to fortify the northern coast of the islands, especially the territories closest to the Korean peninsula. They prepared for a possible attack by the Mongol army. Only in 1274, when Kublai managed to assemble a fleet of more than 700 ships, did he launch his first large-scale invasion of the Japanese islands. Most of the ships were made in the vassal state of Goryeo. They had a flat-bottomed design, convenient for transporting troops along the coast, but not very suitable for sailing on the open sea. This created risks in case of bad weather or a long journey. The army, which included soldiers from the Yuan Empire and the vassal state of Goryeo, headed for Japan. The Mongols' first targets were the islands of Tsushima and Iki off the coast of Korea. The small Japanese garrisons were unable to restrain the attackers. The landing quickly defeated the defenses and established control. This secured supply lines and provided a springboard for an attack on the main islands. The Mongols then landed in Hakata Bay on the island of Kyushu. Despite preparation and fortifications, the Japanese did not stop the landing. The forces were scattered and outnumbered. The Mongols captured Hakata, destroying the garrison, and began to fortify their positions. Realizing its strategic importance, the Japanese authorities gathered about 6,000 warriors and launched a surprise attack, attacking from 3 directions and firing arrows at the enemy. However, the samurai, accustomed to individual duels, were unprepared for a clash with well-organized Mongol formations. The Mongols acted in a coordinated manner, using discipline, experience of major battles, as well as the latest means for the Japanese, primitive rocket artillery, which demoralized the defenders. The first Japanese attack was repulsed, as was the second. The Mongol archers inflicted significant losses, and their formation remained unshakable. In the end, the Japanese were defeated, and the Mongols strengthened control over Hakata, preparing to advance further across the island. However, on the night before the new attack, a powerful typhoon arose over the Sea of Japan. The storm destroyed about a third of the Mongol fleet, flooded food supplies, and took the life of Commander Liu Fuxian. Without a leader and with weakened logistics, the Mongols at the military council decided to leave Japan and postpone the campaign. This retreat could not but anger Kublai. However, circumstances forced him to change tactics. He again sent an embassy to Japan with a demand to submit, trying to resolve the conflict peacefully. However, this time the Japanese authorities responded radically. The ambassadors were executed. This act was a direct insult to the Great Khan. Kublai decided that it was necessary to prepare a new, larger invasion in order to finally conquer Japan. However, a significant part of his troops and resources were still involved in a long and exhausting war against the Southern Song dynasty. Therefore, organizing a new campaign required time and considerable effort. While the Khan concentrated on resolving problems with China, preparations for the next invasion of the Japanese islands proceeded slowly. This became the prerequisite for a new clash between the Yuan and Japan. Only in 1281 did Kublai gather forces for a new campaign against Japan, creating Eastern and Western fleets, more than 4,000 ships, and about 142,000 people. Despite the conquest of the Song dynasty, Korean flat-bottomed vessels were again used, convenient for landing, but vulnerable in the open sea. The experience of Chinese craftsmen was not applied, which was partly explained by the desire to reduce costs. The Eastern Fleet acted hastily and attacked Kyushu itself. The landing at Hakata encountered fortified defenses, walls with towers, garrisons, and effective resistance. In August, the fleets united in preparation for a large-scale landing, but on August 15th, they were hit by a typhoon, destroying an estimated 75% of the ships. This typhoon was called kamikaze, which means divine wind. It was thanks to this natural disaster that Japan escaped conquest. Despite the defeat, Kublai did not stop thinking about new plans. However, the high cost of such expeditions and the losses forced him to abandon the idea of a second invasion. By 1286, this ambition was finally abandoned.